Derek Carr is expected to be the New Orleans Saints starting quarterback come week 1, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are. Okay, so the biggest mystery in the New Orleans Saints offseason seems to be solved. Seems that Scooby and the gang were on this mystery and they pulled the mask off of Derek Carr. Guess what? It's Derek Carr. So let's talk about it. All right, Nick Underhill, live from the Combine in Indianapolis, said, sounds like the Saints plan to keep Derek Carr at quarterback. Loomis said they feel like they got a quarterback they can win with, and Kellen Moore said the team feels fortunate to have Carr. Moore and Carr have met. Sounds like it went well. Still have some contracts out to figure out. So we got Mike Triplett also after talking with Mickey Loomis, Kellen Moore, and Jeff Ireland in Indy. Seems clear that the Saints aren't planning on a reset. They'll continue to stay budget conscious like in recent years, but Loomis said he expects them to be even more active in free agency than last year. John Hendricks have also heard the Saints plan to roll with Derek Carr in 2025. They'll have to figure out the financials, but this seems to be the play. And then John also has an article on Athlon about it. All right, so let's talk about this, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this is going to be very polarizing. It's not going to be polarizing. People are going to be unhappy about this. People are going to be upset about this. People are going to be upset that Derek Carr is coming back. I think a lot of people, including me, were excited and looking forward to just ripping the Band-Aid off and going into the season sans Derek Carr and going into this with a whole new look, fresh start. If it's Rattler, if it's whoever else, fine. But I think we were all done with the Carr experiment. What this tells you, let me put it to you in the simplest terms possible. They were stuck with his contract. That was it. That is going to be the big mistake in this report. Or not report, but from this quote from Mickey. Is Mickey says they think they have a quarterback they can win with. That is the exact same thing as look past the results or whatever else. That's going to be the sticking point for fans. They're going to hear quarterback you can win with. That is classic Mickey lip service 101 right there. It's, well, I've got this guy. I'm going to say some positive stuff about it. In reality, they're stuck with him. In reality, the financials were driving this entire decision. We've said that from day one, right? Where if they could save the money, if it made sense to save the money, they'd cut him. If it doesn't make sense to save the money, if it makes sense to restructure him, if at the end of the day it all equals the same thing, yeah, of course, if it all equals the same thing, you would much rather have Derek Carr than Spencer Rattler, right? You would much rather have Derek Carr than going and trying to sign somebody else. So this was, I believe, 100% a finance-driven decision. That, if you frame it that way, it's a little bit different, right? Like if you frame it that way, does it suck? Yeah, just because you might not like the guy or you might not want to root for the guy or whatever. But it does make sense in that world where financially, if you're stuck with him, financially, if it's the same, then of course they're going to keep him. So that's how I look at it. If you look at Derek Carr's Twitter, I mean, I looked at this the other day. The guy has been completely absent from anything for a long time. Like, it's crazy how much we have not heard from or seen Derek Carr when Kellen Moore got hired, the Super Bowl was here, Radio Row was here, all that stuff. Like, he's just been gone. Just absolutely in a different universe, okay? So maybe it's going to... Listen, I have said this over the last couple of weeks, and I believe it and I stand by it. I'm over Derek Carr. I'm not a Derek Carr guy right now, okay? I don't like how he handled this whole thing. I think it was crazy that he has been completely gone in the shadows during the Super Bowl, during Radio Row. Wasn't there for the team, wasn't there for the city. Kellen Moore gets hired. We don't hear a peep from him. We don't hear nothing. Whether he was saying stuff behind the scenes, whatever. You are the franchise quarterback. You are the franchise guy. If you're the CEO of a company and something happens, the CEO needs to be out front and making a statement. It's not good enough if it's behind closed doors. It's not good enough if you know, however you want to spin it. But I thought that was a horrible look for Carr, especially with how the last 2 years have gone. You know, it just really rubbed me the wrong way. I don't like him. Okay? There it is. I don't like him. And it is what it is. Now this part is going to blow people's minds, okay? So get ready. Get ready now. This is controversial yet brave. As far as this news that they're going to run it back with Carr, I don't really care. Like, it really doesn't affect me positively or negatively when I heard it. When I heard the news, I thought, well, okay, I guess that solves the financial puzzle. I guess that gives you all the answers you need about his contract and restructuring and June 1st cuts and other restructures and other cuts and where money's going to go and all that. It doesn't change the outlook of the Saints. It doesn't change what I expect from Kellen Moore. It doesn't change what I expect from the team. It doesn't change their draft strategy. It doesn't change anything to me. Like, this doesn't do nothing. This is just a financial decision where he's here for another year, I would assume. And that's it. If you're looking at this through the lens of wins and losses, this is a positive. Carr is obviously better than whoever else. Like, he's better than Rattler. As far as just wins and losses, he's better than those guys. He's better than whatever free agents, you could go get, saving money. We talked about Justin Fields. Justin Fields is going to be expensive. A lot of people think he's going to sign some $3 million deal. Wake up, Peter Pan. That ain't going to be it. Okay, when you see whatever Justin Fields signs for, equate it to Derek Carr, I guarantee you the Saints wouldn't be saving any money doing it that way. All right? So, and as far as drafting a quarterback, doesn't change anything there either. We're not drafting a quarterback in the first round, second round, third round. I would hope not. You could still potentially take a guy late if you like them. Riley Leonard, Will Howard, Kyle McCord, however it plays out, depending on how far Milrose slips. You could still do that if you want. If you do that, it does push Rattler back, and by back I mean out of the fold. If you draft a guy, maybe they like Rattler, and maybe this is a move where this is kind of in Rattler's favor, where it allows him to sit, and it allows Derek Carr to truly be that bridge quarterback, and truly be like, all right, you got a year. We have to eat this for a year. We're up against it. Might as well play him. Let Rattler sit and develop, and then potentially the year after is Rattler's team, if that's what they think of the kid. So doesn't do much, man. I think if anything, it is disappointing. I agree there. I think it's disappointing because the negative connotation that Carr has. So that's really about it. I mean, this is one of those things where, should we go to Reddit? Maybe I should have done this first. Maybe I should have went to Reddit first, but let's just take a look at what Reddit's got to say. This is the Mike Triplett tweet. Sad dog face. This is kind of it. Like, this is kind of it. This is kind of how I would frame it, where grand scheme of things doesn't really matter, but this is probably every fan right now, just like, bleh, So Mickey will just refuse to ever rebuild. Got it. Get the F out, dude. This is never, this was never part of it, right? Like, this was never part of, as far as, a rebuild. Like, we knew that wasn't going to happen. We knew that wasn't on the table. We knew that wasn't an option. The idea that, those are things I don't think are correlated, where, if you release Carr or trade Carr or whatever, that still doesn't mean that Mickey or the team would be going into a full rebuild. They are going into a rebuild anyways. And I know it seems like they're not because Carr's coming back, but if Carr financially makes the most sense in order to get to the rebuild, we know the roadmap, right? We know the runway. The runway is get cap conscious in 2025, restructure your contracts and able to do that. Start to get out of contracts. We'll probably see Taysom Hill be a June 1st cut now. We'll probably see Cam Jordan. We'll probably see these players start to fall off. And then next year, you're probably going to see the Derek Carr release. You're probably going to see even more aging players get out of their contracts, and then we know the cap situation in 2026. We know the cap situation in 2027. So none of that really changes. Like that roadmap doesn't really change. It just shifts around the puzzle pieces of when they're all happening. It is very easy for me. It's very easy for fans. It's very easy for whoever to want it to all happen at once. To just say, release Carr, release Cam Jordan, release Taysom Hill, release this player, release that player, release that player. It doesn't really work like that some of the times. So if they're looking at the numbers and they're looking at the contracts and they're like, we can't do this all at once. We gotta kind of layer this out. That's how you get here. Okay. Derek Carr extension plus restructure incoming. The restructure for sure. You can't bring him back without restructuring him. So he absolutely will be restructured. The extension, if there is an extension, it will absolutely be one of those like Fugazi extensions where they're just kind of moving the numbers around in order to spread it, in order to like that's all going to be just jumping through hoops or whatever. So Derek Carr is not the quarterback. He's not the franchise quarterback, barring him playing insane this year. If Derek Carr goes nuts this year and he's an MVP candidate, that could certainly change some things. But if he just plays how he's played for 11 years of his career, then this will be it. Like this is the swan song. I think that's pretty obvious. Let's see. Never-ending story, riding into a 6-11 season. Like this part's confused. Like this part, again, I got a feeling it's going to be a lot of the same comments. But like this part, right? Never-ending story, riding into a 6-11 season. But what's the alternative? Like if you get Justin Fields, let's just say, could easily be riding into a 6-11 season. If you cut Derek Carr, start Spencer Rattler, could easily be riding into a 6-11 season. So do you want, like, what exactly do you want as a fan? What exactly are you looking for? Next year, we're not competing anyways. We're not competing. Like, we're not worried about whatever, 6 wins versus 8 wins. We're not concerned about 10 wins versus 7 wins. We're concerned about the infrastructure of the team. We're concerned about the system. We're concerned about the scheme. We're concerned about the roadmap, the runway for 2026, 2027. Like the short term is really kind of irrelevant. Like it sucks as a fan. Again, it sucks as a fan because you might not like Derek Carr. I get that. I understand that. If you don't want to watch the guy, I'm with you. If you don't want to see the team, if you don't want to listen to him do post-game interviews and pre-game interviews and see him on billboards or whatever, and that's totally understandable. I'm with you there. But the short-term results and all that, they don't really affect what we've been talking about week in and week out. And if you say, well, releasing Derek Carr would get you a better draft pick, whatever, I've covered this a million times. High draft pick doesn't correlate to guaranteed success for your draft picks. Just look at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Okay, let's keep on going. Let's see. Yeah, Loomis has to go, man. Instead of ripping off the Band-Aid and rebuilding young, he's content to keep this team mediocre, downright bad for the foreseeable future. So, is another example where this hombre right here wants what we were saying, where you just do it all at once, right? You release everybody at once, get rid of everybody at once, just clean break. But the financials might not back that up. Like it might not be possible. It might be one of those things where you can't do it all at once. Like you can't, for example, let's say, and this is a crazy metaphor, but let's say you want to get Invisalign. Insane metaphor we're about to go down. Let's say you want to get Invisalign, but you also have a chipped tooth. Well, one person may say, well, just do it all at once, right? Get the chipped tooth fixed and get Invisalign all at the same time. Just do it all, right? Well, the financial side of it might say, well, I can't finance all that. Like, I got to do one, and then I have to space the other out so I can build up my monies or spread out the credit card payments or whatever. So that's a situation where, like, the thought combats with the practicality. If you cannot lump it all up together, if you cannot pay for it, if you cannot take that much hit as far as like your credit card or whatever, then you're forced to do one, spread it out, do the other. Okay. At the end of the day, it equals the same thing. The roadmap's the same. You're still going to have your chipped tooth fixed. You're still going to get Invisalign. You're going to have a pearly white smile. Okay. So it's one of those things where, like, let's say we keep Derek Carr, but we cut Taysom Hill and Cam Jordan leaves as well. Then you are rebuilding young. Like, two things can be true here, right? You can be rebuilding young. You can be resetting. You can be doing all that stuff. You can be winning through the draft. You can be getting rid of bad contracts while keeping Derek Carr. Just like if we cut Derek Carr but kept Taysom Hill, we wouldn't be refusing to get younger. Right? No one would say that. People would be excited Carr's gone. They wouldn't say, well, you cut Derek Carr, but now you're refusing to get young because you have Taysom Hill. No one would say that because they love Taysom Hill, right? AKA gaslight themselves into thinking they can win the division with this horribly aged team. I give up on. I give up on next season. See, like next season, I'm not going to say it's already given up, but why would this make you give up on next season if you don't think that you can win the division, right? Like, if you're not competing for the division, then how does this affect your morale for next season? Unless you just hate Derek Carr. Okay. Chat, are we cooked? I would say, chat, we are unchanged. The roster is in no way built to win now. Agreed. Two things can be true. This has nothing to do with quote-unquote win now. This has to do with pay now. This has to do with restructure now. This has to do with cap compliance now. This isn't a win now move. All right. Let's see. Cap situation is so bad they really didn't have much of a choice. Yes, this is probably it. Like, this is probably the most honest situation where it's like, cap situation is not great. Really didn't have much of a choice. And there it is. Yeah, 100%. I'm going to be honest. This is the point where you're going to start losing your fans, younger fans. Neither of them care about the Saints because, well, for one, they aren't good. But two, they see how stupid the moves of the office are, and they don't think the Saints are anywhere close to pulling together a good team. Nothing for them to latch onto as fans. They just pull for the Bengals and Commanders as their team respectively. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny, man? Like, let's look at something real quick. This is the part where I'm going to be screaming into the void. But imagine, like, so you got the New Orleans Saints, you got the Commanders, and you got the Bengals, okay, that this guy's talking about. Now, I understand the Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels connection there. I understand why they're picking those teams. But imagine being like, imagine telling Mickey Loomis, like, hey, man, you've done a pretty horrific job over the last 20-something years. I wish you were a little more like the Commanders. We want a team like that. And if you're Mickey and you're looking at the Commanders and you're like, wait, the Washington Commanders? They've had 2 winning seasons in 20 years. In 2005, okay, 2005 they went 10-6. 2012 they go 10-6. Obviously this year they're good as well. All right, so remove this year, okay? You're looking at a team that in 20 years won 10 games twice and did not win more than 10 games. And won 1 playoff game. Yeah, like, I don't know, man. If the Saints keep this up, I'm going to root for a real successful team like the Washington Commanders. Talk about what have you done for me lately. 2 winning seasons in 20 years, a disgraced owner, a sale of the team because the owner was under extreme controversy, one of the most maligned, horrifically run, awful franchises over the last 2 decades in any major sport. But because they went 12-5 this year and have Jaden Daniels, this guy's just going to start rooting for the Commanders. Then you have the Bengals. Again, the Bengals get Joe Burrow. They have a Super Bowl run, okay, where they go 10-7. And then we see what happened last 2 years. They've been 9-8. Remember, 9-8 is the same record that Derek Carr went his first year. I guess it's a little different for Joe Burrow, but I digress. I guess a 9-8, like this. How old is this young hombre? 14 and 15. This really shows you that. It really shows you just insane. I mean, remember, fan is short for fanatic, ladies and gentlemen. 9-8, 9-8 in back-to-back seasons. Because Joe Burrow has swag, it's like, man, I'm a Bengals fan. This is what my life is all about. A fourth place finish in the division and a third place finish in the division. 9-8, brother, I'm locked in. I love it. I'm locked in. Now, if you see a fourth place finish in the division 9-8 with Derek Carr, third place finish in the division 9-8 with Derek Carr, someone's getting fired, right? You have your run here, and then 6 wins, 7 wins, 6 wins, 2 wins, 4 wins. You got, decades and decades and decades of just completely nothing. But, then you got this, which is, 9-8. Man, if only it was Joe Burrow. 9-8. If only it was Joe Burrow. Now, of course, here you have decades and decades of 10 wins, 12 wins, 13 wins. In these, in 2020, they won 12 games. Okay? The last time the Washington Commanders won 12 games, besides this year, was 1991. They won 14 games, won the Super Bowl. Fans are wild, man. Fans are wild. So yeah, I mean, hopefully if the Saints can turn things around and be the Commanders, I wouldn't mind watching. Yeah, I mean, doesn't this sound good to y'all? Like, don't you want to be? Isn't this what you want? This looks pretty sweet. Who would sign up for this? How about 20 years of this? 6-10, 10-6, 5-11, 9-7, 8-8, 4-12, 6-10, 5-11. 10-6, 3-13, 4-12, 9-7. What was the separation here? So they go 10-6 in 2012. So 12 years. So this is what's going to build fans. 12 years without winning 10 games. 12 years without winning 10 games. If only we could be the Bengals. If only we could go 9-8 back-to-back years and be 4th and 3rd in the division. Damn. Why do you guys want us to be ass? We're rebuilding, not resetting. We don't want to let good talent just go to waste. This is pretty close, too. We are rebuilding. And reset and rebuild, synonyms, but tanking, like whatever, is not a thing. We know that. So this guy's pretty close to being right. Let's see. Yeah. So, there you go. So, we're going to be talking about this, obviously. This just happened. So, covering it, we'll see some more information out about it. In the grand scheme of things, guys, like, it's going to sound crazy because you're going to hear a ton of, just, like, absolute, like, just nuts take coming in the next 24 to 48 hours. And I'm not sitting here to say this is great. I do not want Derek Carr to be the quarterback of the Saints because I don't like Derek Carr. I'm over Derek Carr. Rubbed me the wrong way. Okay? He pissed off the face of the franchise. All right? Not hiding that. Not a fan. Not a fan of Carr. But I understand the financial situation doesn't alter or change the future forecasting. It is what it is. It is what it is. I didn't like whenever Triple H was the WWE World Champion in 2006. I wish it would have been Scott Steiner or Goldberg, or I wish, Christian would have beat John Cena or whatever. But I get it. Okay. So there you go. Get on down in the comments below. I'll be down there answering, and I will see you in the next video.